Good morning, everyone. My name is, for those of you joining for the first time, my name is Conor Battigan, Chief Executive of Sandyford Business District. Sandyford Business District comprises of four business parks: Central Park, South County, Sandyford and Stillorgan. It has 26,000 employees, 5,000 residents, and 1,000 companies. It is located between the mountains and the sea, and it is Ireland's largest business improvement district. You can stay up to date on all COVID-19 related supports, take a look back at previous webinars, and stay up to date on all things happening in Sandyford Business District on sandyford.ie. This is our 8th webinar in our webinar series. This webinar will last approximately 45 to 50 minutes, and we will be compiling questions throughout, and we will probably deal with most of those questions towards the end of the webinar. Today, I'm delighted to welcome John Lowe from The Money Doctors. John is a regular contributor to television, radio and print. John is also the author of 2 books, The Money Doctors and 50 Ways to Wealth. John, good morning, and thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, Conor, and thank you.
How are you, first of all, John, how are you coping with lockdown?
Well, actually, it's working extremely well because I'm now having consultations, Conor, all over the country. You know, I mean, I had a couple yesterday afternoon from Cork, and from their kind of sitting room to mine, they've never would have come up to Stillorgan, where I'm based, and had that same consultation. And the great thing about Zoom, you can share documents. It's working really, really well for businesses like my own.
Yeah, no, that's I suppose that's one of the positives that we're finding coming out of COVID-19, not taking away anything from the hardship and the heartache that people are experiencing, but it's sort of widened the customer net for some businesses. In the past, they wouldn't necessarily have conducted a lot of business online, but now they have been forced to do that. So, like yourself, they're reaching a greater audience, and customers from Donegal and Cork. So it's that's one of the benefits of it. But today we're going to talk about, I suppose, personal finances, John.
Yes.
And get an insight from you into how we can deal with our personal finances through COVID-19. And I understand as well you very generously provided some books as well to give away throughout the webinar. So
yeah, a little bit of fun, and for those people who will be still kind of listening, no sleeping on this one.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, take it away, John. Thank you.
Okay, Conor, thank you very much indeed, and thank you to the Sandyford Business District, and also to actually Sarah, Joanne, and Emma, who are the girls behind the scenes there. Thank you. It's not about waiting for the storm to pass; it's learning how to dance in rain. It's one of my favourite kind of quotations. We've gone through a recession 12 years ago, and we thought that was it. And unfortunately, coronavirus hit us again, and it's even worse. So it's learning how to dance literally in the rain. I mean, 12 years ago, you had a situation where you had a family out in Tralee who were actually paying their mortgage rather than putting food on the table. So it got a little bit daft. Now we're getting the reality of it. The next slide, please. Yeah. So what we're going to be doing is talking about, and hopefully all of you who are attending today, and thank you very much indeed, by the way, for logging on. But you've got a seminar worksheet, and you've also got another sheet, which are Ireland's best deposit rates. On this seminar worksheet, there are 4 different areas that I will be talking about, and I'll stop as I go through this presentation. And the first thing is all obviously about budgeting. This is just an example, a small part of the budget planner spreadsheet we give to every client who comes in. Nice and simple, because basically I'm nice and simple as well. Maybe not so much nice, but so this tots itself up. So you've got your income on the one side, and then you've got your outgoings, all the expenditure. So it includes, for instance, you can see even below home expenses, your TV license. So if you're doing this properly on a monthly basis, you're talking about for a TV license, it's 160 a year. So you'll be putting down €13.33, and on that TV license. Now it doesn't matter when it comes in, because your monthly salary or your child benefit, or your social welfare, or your rental income will pay for that €13.33. Now what you've got to do is just populate the rest of the fields. And I say there's lots of expenditure kind of topics there, including medical, transport, you can see the financial commitments there as well as loans and debts. So it's a great way just to do it once. As I said, I think personally that to find out how much it costs you to run your life on a monthly basis, it's just so important, because then you can actually work out, you know, the planning of it. Whether you have surplus, you might have children who are going to third level, you've got to work out, you know, how much it's going to cost to them. And that has to come from your surplus income. Income is your number one asset. So the main thing here is, once you've got, and this is the agenda that I'm going to be talking about. So the first one is planning, the only way forward. Then we go to debt and wealth matters, followed by pension and inheritance planning, and then also 10 simple steps to transform your finances. So, you know, we'll have a Q&A, and Conor is going to interrupt from time to time if somebody wants to write in with a particular question that's relevant to the slide that I'm showing, or at the end, we'll have a kind of a 10-minute. So it is driving literally beyond Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know, food, accommodation, shelter. You've also got, you know, managing short and long-term debt. You've also got addressing savings and investments, plus protecting life and possessions, retirement planning and inheritance. These are all going to be, you know, kind of, we will be doing a lot of visiting on these areas. But what do? We plan. That's literally what we do. And there are always unexpected problems. You could have a pregnancy. Your job no longer exists. This is what could happen to a lot of people coming back after this incarceration. Divorce, all of those things will happen. So financial plan is key. And that first part of the worksheet, which is budgeting, ask yourself the question, have you completed one this year? You know, do you review this every January? Our circumstances change every single year. We might have more children. We might have a child who's going to third level. We might lose our job. We might get an inheritance. We might win the lotto. All those kind of things change our finances. And also one other thing, check your monthly finances and to spend 2 hours a month on it. That's really what you do. That 2 hours a month on your finances are so valuable, because, you know, it's only you who are concerned with your finances, not anybody else. So we'll just go through this financial plan then, Joanne, you know, to where you are and where you want to be. So there's an example, like tailoring a solution to meet your precise financial requirements. You know, even if you get a car, you've got to think about the car. You've got, you know, the loan to get. You know, most people just think about the metallic paint, the radio, the leather seats, the size of the engine. But really, you should be thinking about the finance, because that car could cost you twice the amount of money. PCP is a kind of dangerous loan as well, personal contract plans. And this is where you pay maybe 10 to 30% upfront for the car. You pay a small amount every month for 3 years. And then at the end of the 3 years, you've got 3 choices. You've either got to give the car back, you've either got to pay a lump sum, or else you just turn it around and get another loan out, get a new car. But, you know, it's a forever loan. So you need to kind of think about the financial end of things such as that. And that's all about planning. You've got help. That first photograph there is the thing called the envelope system in America, which is very popular. You have different envelopes with different costs. So one envelope might be your TB license, for instance. So every month you're putting in €13.33 until at the end of the year, you've got the full amount. Now you've got the 160. And you've got the internet, which is a fantastic resource. I mean, it used to be a time when you'd need to go to a reference library to find things. You don't need to do that anymore. Google give you everything. And then you've got people like myself who will give you hopefully honest to goodness advice, and who are supposed to be the experts in their field. You know, if I have you know, a tooth problem, I'm going to go to a dentist. So it's the same principle. So the next slide is the budget itself. And at least once a year, as I said, you need to do that. Live within your means, spend less than you earn. That's the key. You know, if for instance, you've done that little exercise, and by the way, any of you who are listening, if you want to get that budget planner spreadsheet, please email me. The details will be on at the end of this presentation, and I will send that budget planner sheet out to you, and you can do it yourself. So the budget is when it's complete, you've got to ask yourself 2 questions. You know, do I need all of these items of expenditure, and is there a better or cheaper alternative? Now, if you do find that your expenditure exceeds income, you've got 3 choices. You've got to earn more, you've got to cut costs, or the third choice would be to prioritize. And that prioritize means that, over the last, say, 5 years, 300,000 families have stopped paying their health insurance because they simply couldn't afford it. So they prioritized. So, and don't forget the spreadsheets and the apps. There are 2 free apps that I do actually recommend. And one is my own one. They're both free, by the way. One is Money Doctors, so on the Play Store or the App Store. And what that does, it tracks your spending for 4 or 5 weeks or a calendar month. Really, really useful idea. How many times have you gone to an ATM, taken out 200 or 300 euros, and then a week later you haven't a breeze where this money's gone? Now you can track it because it's got 13 different categories, including online. So your pints, your coffee, your lattes, your magazines, newspapers, petrol, all of those things can be put in there for a month or 4 or 5 weeks. And at the end of it, you press a button, you get a report, you get your top 5 spends, the total amount you spent, and geographically where you spent every cent, because there's a Google Maps facility within that app. Second app is called Stocard, Stocard, and it's a very useful app because I put all my discount tags, the ones you're supposed to tag onto your bunch of key rings, and suddenly they've broken off, and you go to Dunnes Stores or Tesco or Super Value, and suddenly you haven't got it, so you have to get the receipt. You've got to go back home and then find another tag and then go back to. Now you can get it on this Stocard. You can put them all on this because it's on your phone. I mean, I'm a great believer in technology, and I have my Google Pay. So my Revolut card, for instance, is on my Google Pay, as well as my company card and various other things. So I have access to that, and this Stocard means that I'm always getting value. It's not about being mean. It's not about being frugal. It is about getting value, and that's really, at the end of the day, is what we want. Personal finance is 20% knowledge, and it is 80% behavior. So I can tell you all about the things that you should be doing, but if you don't take it on board, it's going to be a complete waste of time. Now, at this point, we are going to have a little draw because Emma and Joanne and Sarah are going to take a name out of the pool of people who have kindly attended today's presentation, and they're going to give a name to Connor, who's going to announce the winner of the first of 3 books, Money Doctors 2020, which it's actually not it's a kind of good reference book in fairness. It's endorsed on the front by Joe Duffy, and sadly it's got the last posthumous endorsement of Gay Byrne on the back. So
thanks, John. The first winner is Fiona Cahill from Me Too. So congratulations, Fiona. We'll be in contact. John, we have a number of questions coming in.
Okay.
One is a reoccurring question, actually. It's a rainy day fund question. It's how much of your monthly salary should you be putting away each month?
Well, that's a great one, but that's actually number 3 of the worksheet, but I'll still answer it, Connor, because It's a very good question. I mean, really, I recommend that you should have between 3 and 6 months net annual income in a rainy day fund. And you have that, Connor, for 3 reasons. One is the emergency. A lot of people, they might buy that car, for instance, and they've budgeted for tax, insurance, maintenance, but they didn't budget that the clutch was going to go. And that's 400 or 500 euros. So that comes out of your rainy day fund. The second reason would be sudden loss of income. I mean, how many people have been put on a 3-day week, or may even sadly lose their jobs? You need that rainy day fund to give you a little bit time to put, get yourself together and dust down your CV or whatever you need. And then the third reason is the investment opportunity. With the way the global economy has gone, you just might find a Louis Le Brocchi going for half nothing. So you do need that some money, or even just a 10% deposit for a house. So that's the reason why you need a rainy day fund. And so, some people would say, maybe 20% of your salary, but I like to think more in terms of 3 to 6 months net annual income. There's a guy in America, his name is Dave Ramsey. He's the kind of the guru over there. He sells 4 million books a year, and he has 8 baby steps. And his first baby step is you have to have $1,000 cash available. And you know how many people in America have $1,000 available in their accounts? 70% do not have it. So less than 30% of $1,000. That's how bad things are really in America. They're all living on credit. So anyway, we'll come back to that. So that's 80% behavior. Debt management. This is the second part, and you'll see financial commitments, which is the second on your worksheet. All financial monthly repayments. What I want you to do is put all your financial. This is your mortgage, your rent, or your credit union loan, your car loan, your bank loan, your personal loan, your loan to your mother. Put them all down on a monthly basis. Add them together, and then put your net monthly income underneath it. And if your financial commitments exceed 35% of that net monthly income, then you've got a problem, because the other 65% is, by the way, to live. So what I'm going to show you here are, the various mortgages and various loans that you can get. I mean, the lowest mortgage you can obtain at the moment, some people are still have this, is 0.5%, and that includes the bank. The current ECB rate is 0%, and the bank of the current lenders charge, the lowest one was 0.5%. So there were likes Permanent TSB, Bank of Scotland, they had 0.5%, and with the ECB rate of 0%, it means there are people going around with a tracker rate of 0.5%. And you can go up to 5.9. And I always say that in terms of mortgages, shop around. There are some people, even though you might have AIB, who've got a very good standard variable rate of 2.75, and Bank of Ireland, they say it's kind of 3%. But you can still find, both those banks have customers who have maybe over 3.5% to 4% of a mortgage, because it was never changed. And if that's the case, you need to look at it, find out, and shop around, because there are some fantastic rates out there. Lowest mortgage rate, by the way, currently on the market is 2.2%, and it's the Ulster Bank, and it's a 5-year fixed rate. You have to be borrowing at least 300,000, and it is an 80% loan to value max. Car leasing, I mean, that's from 6.5% to 15%. And again, you need to be careful about those personal contract plans. Personal loans from high street banks up to 18%. Again, so many people don't bother with asking for the rate. It's so important. It makes a huge difference. These are the no-nos, the store and credit cards from 13.6% to 26%. I'll talk about them later. Money lenders. Do you know there are 37 authorized money lenders in the central bank who can charge up to 200% interest on loans? Now, they are generally lower amounts, like maybe up to 500,000 euros max. And it's unfortunate the people who very need the money themselves that are availing of these high interest rates, because they can't get it through the normal channels. So payday loans, I mean, they're kind of thing of a past now. I think some of them have gone to ground. Guard your good name. There are 2 registers now where they're watching every move, and you can go to either one of those. ICB is the Irish Central Bank, the ICB.ie, and the Central Credit Register. It's ICB.ie. You used to pay €6. It's now free, and you can find out what your credit rating is like, and do you have a black mark in it. Just to let you know, if you had one missed payment, how many people have a car loan, and at Christmas time they say, what I'll do is I'll wait till January, I'll make 2 payments then, but I need the money now to buy the presents. That one missed payment means you're going to be on like a beacon in both of those credit registers for 5 years. And if you have a judgment against you, it's on against you for life, and you'll never get rid of it. So just guard your good name. Current accounts, just very quickly on these. Again, you've got, beware of the cost of running an account. It can be very expensive, €25 just to get the, and then you're paying, at least 11.5% for the actual overdraft. But then if you exceed it, you can have 12% there, see 23.85%. So it's really, really expensive stuff. Use your online accounts, and I would transfer, even though the surplus cash, we'll talk about deposit later, the deposit rates are very low, it's still worth transferring over. So the next slide, this is the latest one, the Smart Current Account from Mum Plus Money, who are now the new kids on the block with all their things. They have all the online payments, ATM withdrawals, contactless payments. They've got their own credit card, which they only brought in less than 2 years ago. Next slide. They also have then, manage online wallets, great for saving, but they have then instead of points, you get money back. So actually, one of the things that are missing off that, believe it or not, is Supermax. So if you fancy the burger and you had a smart current account, you could get point money back into your account by going into Supermax. Not the healthiest, but anyway, credit cards. Yeah, there are a number here, and you can see that the cheapest is AIB Click Card, 13.6%. Those four providers, banks with the asterisks, they are giving, again, if you've got a maxed out credit card or you just can't get rid of it because it's either too big, you can transfer your balance over to any one of those four, and they'll do it at 0% for a specific term. Like in KBC Permanent, it's 6 months. Bank of Ireland, it's 7 months. But with Unpost Money credit card, it's 12 months. So if you had a 12-month, €1,200 debt and you just couldn't get rid of it, you transferred it over to them. You pay $100 a month. There's no interest, and at the end of the 12 months, you've got a cash, no credit card that's free of debt. So, and don't forget then your contactless card. That limit has gone up to €50, I'm delighted to say. And the best deal for students, Bank of Ireland gives for 6 months. And don't forget FX cards. Although I have to say, I think the Revolut card now blows everybody away. There's already 1 million users here in Ireland. I was in Russia recently, and it was actually brilliant in terms of rates. Just to give you an idea, in Paris, it was 54 rubles per euro. In St. Petersburg, in a currency exchange shop, it was 54, 55. And then when I put it in an ATM with the Revolut card, I got 72.99 rubles per euro. Anyway, basic home loan principles. Lending is based on your ability to repay, not the asset. So you could have €1 million property, and you'll find that you're looking for 100,000. It'll be based only on the fact that you have the ability to repay that 100,000, not on the fact that you've got €1 million property. So it's 3.5 times your annual gross income for home loans, and total loan repayments should not exceed 35%, as I said, of your net disposable income. That's the magic figure, roughly. Financial commitments, don't forget, if you take out a car loan, say at $200 a month, then $2,400 is taken off your annual income for mortgage eligibility purposes. So just be wary of that. Most people would be advised to get rid of their kind of short-term debt when you're applying for a mortgage, because that will go against you. And the Help to Buy scheme is still available for first-time borrowers. So if you are borrowing under, say, buying under 500,000, and you're either getting a new build or a self-build, you can get up to 5%. It's quite useful and still available. Loan terms, again, tops is 68 years of age or 35 years term. Interest rate, there's only the standard variable rate and the fixed rates. And then you've still got the Personal Insolvency Act and bankruptcy still available. I am also, among a number of things, a personal insolvency practitioner. So I do see a lot of the heartache, and we are the kind of go-between between the debtors and the creditors. And there's still 12 years later, a lot of it. That 35% is just again to remind you, if you have your financial commitments exceeding your net monthly income by over 35%, then you need to go and see somebody and get sorted. The next thing is about tax credits and allowances. And this is just, again, very quickly, if you go through the things. So to avail of every allowance, up to 4 years tax refund. So you can go back, if you haven't claimed your dental for the last 4 years, you can go back, those two companies there, Taxback and refunds.ie, they have a little fee, but they do the work for you basically and find out if you are eligible to get a refund. So you should be making a tax return every year and you receive your certificate of tax credits. So as I say, what's available as medical, dental expenses, pension relief, the EIIS scheme are among the main items to claim. So, and don't forget, if you've got a little sideline business, you can go on Revenues Online self-service POI system, and they help you get your money refunded very quickly. So this is the third.
If I could just jump in there, just Miriam has asked a question, just that you've pension relief there. Miriam's question is, when should you start a pension? At what age?
Well, the questions are great because they're all coming well in advance of where I'm going to be talking about it, but we will be talking about that. You should start a pension. I had a 26-year-old girl, just to answer Miriam's question, a 26-year-old girl who came into the office for a consultation, and she was visibly upset when we finished the consultation that at 26 years of age, she had missed out on 2 years pension contributions. She was 26. So that'll give you an idea. I think that the younger you are, we have a major problem with pensions in this country. I think that within 30 years' time, we will not have the state pension available. The government will not have the money, and that's a reality. As I say, I'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's a really, really great topic. Thank you for the question. Savings and the rainy day fund deposits, these are the best interest rates in Ireland. They're so pathetic. And the best demand rate is also the permanent TSB, which is 0.15. And that, take the dirt tax off that, and you've got 0.1005%. So it really is. And you got the best of all of the deposit rates, and you've got the sheet with you with this webinar, is the National Solidarity Bond down there at the bottom. It's a 10-year investment guaranteed by the government now, I have to say. And that's one of the basic attractions of that. But you're getting 16% into your fist. So it's equivalent to 2.31% gross each year for those 10 years. But if you take out the money, anytime in those 10 years, you lose all the interest and you lose the reason why you put it in the first place. So as I say, 16%, that's the very best of all of those deposits. The next slide you'll see are regular saver accounts. And I'm a great believer in these, even though the interest rates are pretty awful. But EBS family savings account is the best one at 1.25% gross. But what it is you're forced into saving, especially if you don't have an account with, say, EBS. I'm not an agent, but you say you have your Bank of Ireland account or your thing, so you're putting money away. It's a bit more hard to kind of access it. And but secondly, you're only allowed one withdrawal a year. So if you put 100 to 1,000 a month, say 1,000, say even 100, you've got 1,200 at the end of the year. And okay, you're getting a small amount of interest, but it's savings that you can make one withdrawal. So that'll maybe take care of your Christmas presents. So they're the best rates. And you look at the bottom there, Ulster Bank 0.85. Well, for the sake of 0.4%, I would still go to the EBS and open an account there rather than the Ulster Bank. Credit unions, they're not giving anything, sadly, at all. Prize bonds, again, I've got so many customers with lots of money in prize bonds, 2 clients with $500,000 each, because they're guaranteed again by the government. So that's like gold dust at the moment, with what's happening, the uncertainty. And you'll notice that gold has shot up because gold is the barometer of volatility in the world. The matches I put in there because it's essentially, you're looking at burglaries and all sorts of things. People shouldn't be carrying money around with them at this stage. I mean, I can't remember the last time I touched money. I certainly haven't done it in the COVID-19 period. So diversification, we're talking about, again, about a rule of thumb, cash versus alternative investment. You'd want at least, I put twice, I think you'd want nearly 5 or 6 times the cash return to go in this. This and property would be one of those alternative investments. You can see the range there. Even property syndicates are getting back into flavor now at this stage. Although the property cycle is kind of going down again. KBC Bank came out recently in the last week with a report that property prices next year will be down by 12%. The next slide is taken at 7 a.m. and it was on the 8th of August, 1969. Now, normally I'd ask the people, who this, what that is, and you all know it. It's from the Beatle album. The next slide, you'll see it. Now, there's reason why I put this in is for a couple of reasons. One, to show alternative investments. Just go back to the slide again, please, Joanne. The car over Paul's head is a 1967 Triumph Herald light blue estate car. And it's opposite the entrance, actually, of the Abbey Road Studios where they made the thing. But that car was bought by a Dublin classic car dealer called David Golding about 4 or 5 years ago. And he had it for 6 weeks. And sadly, I only found out after he sold it, because I would have actually bought it. He bought it for £2,500 and proved the provenance. And then 6 weeks later, it was £10,000. He sold it. But he came back about 3 weeks after he sold it and he said, you're right. I sold it to a guy called Jeff Dunham, who is this puppet comedian in America. He lives in LA and he's worth about 45 million. But he had the car shipped over and he gave it to his manager as a present. And the reason that was what he wanted to do, because he knew the fellow was a Beatle fan. So what did this manager do with that car? He looked at all the Beatle festivals within a 10-mile radius and he found there was one at the north side of LA, drove the car there, put a little pop-up tent, put the album outside, and a little sign at the bottom of the album saying, "Get your photograph taken here." And he had, at the end of 1 week, $88,000 just in 1 week. The guy on the right is a fellow called Paul Cole beside that black taxi, if it is a taxi. And he came out looking for his wife. He's 45 years of age. And he, unfortunately, didn't know what these four guys were doing. He thought they were galoots. He died at the age of 96 in 2008 in Pensacola. And he never listened to the album, even though he became world famous. And you'll see from the next slides that the next one after that, that's Paul Cole there. I say he never listened to it because he's a classical music lover. So, but he was famous on. The next slide will show you also that this was a photograph taken by Linda Eastman, who was Paul's. There's the car again beside the car. And that's the car itself, which was, as I say, sold for, £10,000 over to Jeff Dunham. The next slide will also show you another photograph. This was sold in 2012 for £16,000. There were 6 photographs taken by Ian Macmillan that day, who passed away in 2009. And apart from the one which is possibly worth millions, the main one, there were 4 others 2 years later sold, and they were sold for £180,000. So it's not just about putting money in deposits, not about getting money in bricks and mortar, it's alternative assets. Next slide, please. You'll see that this album, about less than 2 months ago, was sold, all Beatle signatures on the album, just an ordinary album. It was sold for £73,000. That was £73,000, just unbelievable. So the next slide you see is myself. My daughter brought me on a 3-hour trek to Beatle London, and the taxi driver took that photograph of the two of us. It's very difficult, by the way, to get 2 people with that zebra crossing on your own, because you got so many people wanting to go across. So they were very kind and allowed just the 2 of us to walk across, and then he took that photograph. Next one. That's a comic, believe it or not, in June 1938, 1 of 100, number 1. It was the start of Superman, basically. And there were only 100 printed. And the minimum price for anyone in any kind of order is about $400,000. That one was sold in 2016 in Houston, Texas. And they got $985,000 for it. 985. The next one is, as I say, is all about, is it a great time to invest? Alternative investments. If any of you come to my office, you'll see there rock memorabilia. As you open the door, on the left-hand side is a jacket, a Jerry Lee Lewis jacket from the film Great Balls of Fire, given to me, believe it or not, over 24 years ago by his wife. And when I was over there for his 60th birthday party, it sounds like bragging, but it wasn't really, because we were over here for a couple of years. And I got to know them. She said, when I wore the jacket, she said, "Hey, John, that's a collector's item. It's worth $5,000, and he's not even dead yet." That was 24 years ago. That's why it's hanging in my office. So all of those things, numismatics, coin collection, philately, stamp collection, wine investment. Great thing about wine investment, if it doesn't work out, you can just, drink it. It's great. Stock market. Again, all sorts of things are happening in the stock market. We've just gone through the 26th bear market, which matched the 26th bull. And that last bull, which basically ended in March, was the 11 years and the second longest, and only 2 years shy of the longest, which was 87 to 2000. And that stopped it by the dot-com bubble. So the next one is going to be a bull. And the pensions, I know Miriam was talking about pensions. So it is the best investment in Ireland, without a shadow of a doubt today, because the contributions, age-based, if you're between 30 and 40, or say 40 and 50, you can put 25% of your net relevant earnings to kind of gain the tax relief. So again, if you look at your retirement planning number 4, monthly income, you put your monthly income there. And then if you're, say, 42, you put 25% of it. That's the amount of money you can put into your pension. The Question is, can you afford it? And that's why you need to go back to your budget planner spreadsheet. So all growth in the pension fund is still tax-free, and 25% of the fund on retirement can be taken as a tax-free lump sum with a cap of 200,000. Just very quickly, I had a lady who came to me in 2012. She had 212,000 she wanted to put into an ARF, which is when you come to retire, you can either go annuity or the approved retirement fund route. She went the ARF route. She already had a big pension. So the 212,000 was there for 8 years. And she contacted me, ironically, last January when she said, I think my friends are getting more money than I am on return. I said, well, let's work it out. I said, so you gave me 212 in 2012, and you've taken out 94,000 because you have to take with an R 4% a year and 5% once you reach 70, and then it's probably about 1.5% annual management charges. So she was taking out 5.5% minimum every year. So she actually took out 94,000. So in January 2000, 8 years later, having put in 212,000, the balance in her pension was 226,000. And she had taken out 94,000. She was a happy bunny, I can tell you. Thank God she didn't come to me in April. It could have been a different kettle of fish. She's still up though, well up. So inheritance planning, just to let you know, you're talking about Category A, parent to child, is now 335,000, and 32,500 for brother, sister, aunt, uncle, nephew, niece, and then 16,250 for anyone else. You're also talking about, remember, aggregates count. So if you have a favorite aunt who gives you 32,500, she just left her in her will, and then the following year another aunt dies and gives you another 32,500, you got to pay 33% tax on that second one. So, and don't forget gift tax. Your mother and father, or whoever, can give you, or give me, 3,000 a year per person, and it's tax free. So transform finance. This is very quickly 10 areas where you can transform your finances. Having an emergency fund, and actually in number 3, again, to answer the original question, that where current savings, what your current savings are, I need you to put that down now, and then put 50% of your annual net income. And if you have a shortfall, you need to start saving again. So that emergency fund is really important. Paying off expensive personal loans and credit card debt. You know, there was a story of a bank manager who met a lady outside of the bank, and he found that during the course of the conversation that the credit card had been stolen. And he said, I don't remember you telling me the credit card was stolen. Did you advise him? Oh, no, not at all, she said. I said, well, why didn't you tell us? She said, well, I found out the person who stole the card was actually spending less than my husband. Anyway, that's just for paying off expensive personal loans and credit card debt. Short-term savings for cars, holidays, and so forth. Again, income protection. I mean, I'm a great fan of income protection because that is the only type of insurance where you can get tax relief at your marginal rate. I mean, again, I've had lots of stories about serious illness cover, which I'm not a great fan in, where guy in my golf club, he had a heart attack and had a stent put in his heart, and actually played golf with him last year. And I asked him, did he have any cover? And he said, I thought I had serious illness. I wrote in because 95% of all claims on serious illness are heart attack, stroke, or cancer. And he came back and he said, I got a letter from them 3 weeks later saying, no, you need a minimum of 2 stents in your heart to get money back. So he got nothing. So income protection, though, is incapacitation. It pays 75% of your income until your incapacitation has gone or your pension kicks in, whichever is the sooner. And I say for every euro you spend on income protection, you're getting tax relief at your marginal rate. Life insurance, I mean, again, I used to ask the question, how many people in this room smoke? And there might be 1 or 2. Now there's nobody smoking. Very, very, very few people who smoke. So starting a pension, in my opinion, it is never too early. You should start as soon as you start working, because 680,000 people are over the age of 66. In 30 years' time, there'll be 1.8 million. We had last year, for every person who retired, 5 workers. In 30 years' time, there will be 2. So you don't need to be rocket science to work out that the government simply won't have the money. That's why they started bringing in auto-enrollment like 20 years ago, but they kept putting it off, and they put it off again for another year. I think 2023 is the latest that it's coming in. But this auto-enrollment, IBEC don't want to bring it in because their employers have to pay money. SIP to the unions, they don't want to bring it in because their employees have to start paying money into the fund as well. And of course, the politicians don't give a hoot either because they just want to get the votes. So whatever way you go, and that's why it's been procrastinating all these years. Buying a house with the help of mortgage, again, that should be the number one. We still have an aspiration in Ireland to own our own home. 80% of us have our own home. Unlike, say, in Germany, where 60 years ago you used to kind of buy your colour TV and borrow for your rent your home. We did the opposite in Ireland. We used to rent our colour TVs and buy our homes. Budgeting, planning, and annual expenditure, very, very important. Again, to do that budget plan just once a year, and then update it every year. Protecting your assets, possession, building up your personal investments, and planning long-term care. Just to give you one idea, again, planning is everything. Where you've got children, and you've got a new child just born, and you're getting that €140 a month. Well, you're going to get if you put that away, under a mattress or in a little bank account, and at the end of the 18th or 17th year, because it stops on the 18th birthday, you'll have accumulated €28,560 from that 140 with no interest. But you need, just for third level alone, for that same one child, 42,000. So you're still 14,000 shy. That's why planning is so important. Knowledge is power, and you'll see here from the rest of these slides. So you've got to inform yourself, reading the 10 seminars like this, understand the jargon. There's a jargon buster actually on my website, moneydoctors.ie, where you can see again the jargon of every kind of description that you want to understand. Spend time, as I said, 2 hours a month. Enjoy planning, saving, and spending, and be positive and hopeful, because there's always hope, no matter how bleak. So 48 hours. Usually I used to put a little quiz on this, but I'm going to ask Emma, Joanne, and Sarah to pull 2 more people out at this point and let Connor know who they are for 2 more books signed that will be posted out to you. But that 48 hours is there for a reason, because I have been speaking for the last 40 minutes or so, and if you don't do anything over the next 48 hours, unfortunately, it means you won't do anything at all. And even if I could ask you to, open that, regular saver account, or maybe start, do the budget planner, or do something that's going to be rewarding for you, because this is about you, not me. And that's it, basically. The next slide, I'll ask Connor maybe to give me the names of those 2 people.
Yeah, the first winner, John, is congratulations to Cal Doyle of Doyle and Murta, and then we have Harish Petroda, I think if that's the pronunciation. So congratulations to you both. We'll be in touch.
Great. Fantastic. Well done. So I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any, Connor.
Yes. Yeah, John, we have a number of questions that have come in. The first question is, it's in relation to outstanding loans, and I think this person may have a number of outstanding loans, and they're wondering if if it'd be better to consolidate those loans into sort of a mortgage type loan, where the loan to be long term, low interest rate, or having a short-term loan.
Just to answer that question, first of all, consolidations were the norm, maybe certainly about 15, 20 years ago. The last recession, that stopped. Banks wouldn't do consolidations. There's a little bit of it going on. If you have a personal loan, say with AIB, and you've got another loan that you took out in the credit union, which was for refurbishment of your home, they might cobble those together and put it into your mortgage and spread it over. Obviously, the longer the term of a loan, the lesser the repayments. There's ways around it. I mean, I had to get onto a credit union who had given a 100,000 loan, believe it or not, to a certain gentleman, and they did it over a 5-year period. And I rang the credit union manager, because I had to say to him, look, he can't afford this. He will default within 2 years. You need to push this out to 10 years. That gives him a chance, and that he can afford that, and he can live at the same time. So in the end, I said, this is a very good client. He can easily afford over 10 years, and you have him for 10 years, because the credit unions are having a bad time currently as well. There's not enough people borrowing from them. So he saw the light, and he extended to a 10-year period. So sometimes some of those loans, you can go back to the lenders and you can ask them individually to extend them. In particular, credit unions, they're more flexible than most. But banks, they won't consolidate unless it's a personal loan. You could get maybe up to maybe 5 years with some of those banks.
Question that's come in, John, is do you consider being part of an employer pension scheme as starting a pension? I presume you would.
Well, if the employer is making a contribution to it, absolutely, because it's money for old rope. I mean, how many times have we heard from people who set up a pension and said, "Oh yeah, I've got a pension. 5% I'm putting in, and my employer's putting in 5%." That's 10%. 10% is not going to keep you in the kind of luxury that you've become accustomed to over these last number of years. So, I mean, they don't increase those rates. If you look at number 4 again on the worksheet, and you can see the underage from under 30 to over 60, it's 15 to 40%. So there, it's a gradual increase the older you get. It's not done for just pie in the sky. It's done because you need to put that money away when you do retire. And as I said, I wouldn't trust the government to have the money in 20, 30 years time to pay that state pension.
Okay. Another question, John. Should I review my mortgage provider, i.e. should I review the mortgage I have, or the bank that I have the mortgage with every year, and likewise with insurance and utilities?
It's a brilliant question, because that's all what this is about. It is about shopping around at all times. I mean, one of the first things I do, if I had a mortgage, I would look at the rate I'm being charged, and you could find, say it was 3.5%. Okay, now you got 3.5%. Is your mortgage less than 80% of the value of your home? Because if it's more, you won't get it swapped. And a lender won't take you on. The maximum will be 80%. Then the next thing you want to find out, do I still have the ability to pay that mortgage, to justify with my income? Remember, it's 3.5 times joint income. So you could have maybe had to take a cut in your salary. Maybe you were a joint application when you started, and now one of you are not working. So that's the third. And the fourth question then is your credit still good? Go on to ICB, Irish Credit Bureau, by the way, I couldn't think of it at the time, irishcreditbureau.ie, ICB, and the Central Credit Register.ie, and find out what your credit history is like. And if there's a little mark against you, then you'll have a difficulty getting a lender to take you on. So if you comply with those 3-4 things, then yes, shop around. And by all means, if you want to bounce it off me, I'd be very happy to. We represent virtually all the lenders anyway.
Okay. Just the last question, John.
Yeah.
Your alternative investments were quite interesting. Someone has asked, how do you rate or how do you view cryptocurrencies?
Well, that's a pure gamble, an absolutely pure gamble. If you have a few bob, I mean, if you want to just go out and buy Bitcoin or whatever and spend a couple of grand on it, but be prepared to lose it all. It wouldn't be my type of alternative investment, I have to say. I would much prefer rock and roll memorabilia to Bitcoin. It's a pure gamble.
Okay, good advice, John. And just if I may provide my own advice, a lesson learned, I suppose, I took it upon myself to review my direct debits, at the start of COVID-19.
Yeah.
I sat down one Saturday morning, went through them, and I was paying for something that I didn't use, and I was also double paying for something when I shouldn't have been. So I saved myself, a few bob.
Well spotted, Conor. Well spotted.
So it's it's. I would recommend to everybody that they that they do review their direct debits on a regular basis. Look, John, thank you very much. There's
a real pleasure. My thanks to the girls as well, to Sarah, Joanne, Emma, and yourself, Conor. Much appreciated.
No, it's feedback has been very positive. I'd just like to note Richardson Insurance have been in contact. They're located in Beacon Court. Richard Insurance are offering 15% off mortgage protection and 1 month free. So it's great to hear offers like that. So I would recommend you get in contact directly with Richardson Insurance. If there are any other companies in that space, be it insurance or finance in Sandyford Business District, you do have offers or you wish us to promote your business, please do get in touch. I'd like to thank you all for listening today. All the details from this webinar will be posted on our website, sandyford.ie, and you'll also find previous webinar slides on the website, sandyford.ie. So thank you all. Stay safe and respect 2 meters, and we'll talk to you again soon.